We are joined right now by Mr. Sammy Guillory. Mr. Sammy, how are you this morning?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
You are the Deputy Assistant Secretary, Division of Programs for Department of Children and Family Services for the state of Louisiana. Was I close?
You got it exactly correct.
Okay, this past weekend at Votech North Market in Shreveport, it was DSNAP cards, vouchers being passed out. Have I got that right? It wasn't FEMA stuff, or well, straighten us out. What exactly was going on?
Right. It was Disaster SNAP, which formerly known as Disaster Food Stamps, and it was people applying for DSNAP, and it's food assistance only. It's a card that works just like a regular SNAP card, where you can purchase food at authorized retailers.
How many people showed up that day? How many SNAP cards, DSNAP cards, did you give out, and in what amount?
Well, in Caddo Parish alone, on Saturday we certified 3,148 cases for about $1.2 million.
You've heard the stories. You've heard that when I originally contacted FEMA with the Facebook post from Mr. Lawler that said that fraud was running rampant, that there was no vetting system, that people were just lining up and weren't being, their stories weren't being checked out. What of that is true? What of that is legit? And where are folks in this area, many of whom are more than a little outraged, miffed to say the least? Where are folks off the mark?
Well, it's a federal program. It's a program meant to quickly give food assistance to people impacted by disasters. Usually in Louisiana, we've done these for hurricanes. Flooding is a little different for us. We follow the federal guidelines. The only thing that's required to be verified is the person's identity and where they live.
So pardon me, literally anybody can come get in line. And I mean, do you even call it flood assistance, or do you just call it assistance if you're not checking to see if people are suffering flood damage? Please continue.
It's called food assistance because it's part of this SNAP program. We follow the federal guidelines, but people have to have what's called an adverse effect. It does not mean they have to have water in their home, but if they lost food or if they lost their job for a brief period of time, or they couldn't go to work for several days because of the flood, if their car got damaged, various things like that qualify as an adverse effect.
Then how do you check that?
We do not check it on the front end. We do have information. We have flood data maps that were provided by GOSEP, so we do know where the severe flooding happened. But unfortunately, when FEMA determines that a certain parish qualifies for individual assistance, that sets a trigger for DSNAP. And so these parishes and more were qualified for individual assistance through FEMA, so we operated DSNAP.
So basically anybody can get in line, get the $400 or $500 SNAP card, and your protocol as given to you by the federal government is, well, we'll check on them later. Am I wrong?
Pretty much, but anyone could get in line, but we did deny like 8 or 9% of the applications. So people, if someone wants to get in line and lie to us, more than likely they get certified, and then we catch them on the back end. We do have data matches where we could check everyone's employment history, their income, where exactly they live. We have a GIS system that shows where their benefits are being spent. So, we have things.
Pardon me, that's a lot of bureaucracy on the backside that might have been avoided, a lot of cost on your end that might be minimized if you had a little better vetting system. Would you disagree?
All I know is we run the program in accordance with federal guidelines. We ask for more information, actually, than what the feds require. We get the names, we get the Social Security numbers, we get household members. We put all of that into the system before someone actually comes to the site. They what we call pre-register on our system, so we can check some of that information.
So you get their addresses when they're in line right before you hand them the card, and which you don't ask a lot of questions, I would assume. But you do get their name, address, zip code, etc., right?
We get that hopefully when they pre-register, before they even come to the site.
What amount on average? What percentage of DSNAP stuff in when you have this disaster relief? What percentage of that turns out to be fraudulent, and what percentage do you anticipate you'll recover?
I don't have that number. We're required to review a certain percentage of the cases, and we're required to review all cases that might have been. We're required to review a certain amount of cases. Also, we have a fraud staff at least one at every site. So we flag cases while we're there. They look for suspicious things like expensive cars in the parking lot, any kind of questionable case that when someone says they're making a certain amount of money. And, you know, a lot of these smaller parishes, the people know people, so they'll say, hey, he really makes more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And we flag these cases to look at on the back end.
And yet, pardon me, the statement that came from your organization, from your organization yesterday, basically said that very few people are denied because that might hurt people who really need the help.
Well, I can tell you that we denied 4,904 applications out of about 55,000. It's about 8 or 9%.
How do you get the word out about that? How do you publicize that this giveaway is going to take place?
We call it an eligibility program, not a giveaway, and we publicize where people can apply. What we encourage is pre-registration, so that not only we can check, not only we have that information about the households in our system, but it also speeds up the process for the actual applications at the sites.